Hello, welcome to Bad at Board Games. My name's Brad Lake, and I'm here with Alec Usticke, and we're here to talk controversy, Gen Con, Illuminati, aliens. What the heck happened with the housing situation, Alex?
That's the way to phrase it. Hey, Brad, thanks for having me on again. Yeah,
Always
let's
love
talk
having
about
you.
Gen Con. So Sunday was a big day for plenty of people who may have been excited about the Super Bowl, but us Gen Con fans were excited about the Gen Con housing portal opening
I'll
up.
give you. I want to. I
Uh,
want to ask you a quick question. What do you think my
uh,
time was for the Gen Con housing? If you had to guess,
oh, 3:25.
you were close. I had 3:39.
Oh, wow. And did you buy a badge before Friday the 11th?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, that's a bad time.
Yeah, it was. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna get a room."
Uh, yeah. Well, we'll
Well,
talk about that. There
I
might
already had a room booked. I wasn't. I don't work the portal or hope the portal's gonna work for me. But I just thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, no.
Yeah, you're smart. Yeah, yeah, the people who got lucky and got a 12:05 time are like, "This is a great system." The folks who got 3:30 are like, "This is horrible, and we need to change it." And I mean, I can totally understand that sentiment, but, some of it's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's get into it. What did you?
Yeah. Well, when we last spoke, I mentioned that housing registration would be rather revealing,
Hmm.
and I know you're going to display some images here. If we look at past years, what registration looked like, it's typically connected rooms, skywalk hotel rooms go first. First doubles and then singles and such. And then other downtown rooms further afield usually go a little later, but
Hmm.
generally it's sold out every single year, as you can see here. Last year was an aberration.
Right,
Oh, and I should say 2020 is listed. So 2020 Gen Con was canceled, but it was canceled after housing registration
right.
happened. So the folks who got an amazing time in 2020 got rather excited, and unfortunately, we all had a lot of disappointment
Hmm.
for Gen Con reasons and a lot of reasons that
Yeah.
year. But anyway, we did have a Gen Con last year, but it was very unusual. And one of the most unusual thing is when housing registration opened, the downtown rooms did not sell out for like the first time in many many years.
Hmm.
So that was unusual. This year, I speculated, that this would be telling. If they didn't sell out again, we
Right.
probably could expect a repeat of last year, where there was 30 or 35,000 people, about half the size. If we saw that again, um, however, we didn't. Now, one thing to keep in mind with these sellout times here is Gen Con each year typically manipulates how spread out they give housing time. So you
Hmm.
can see years ago they were going till 11 p.m.,
Right. That's true.
which means when they spread out the people who are logging into the housing portal at different times, it means things are going to sell out longer. And this year they squished the times together, so they only went to around 3:30, which is very quick. I assume they did that, one, because they probably have a pretty good idea of what their servers can handle these days. And the second thing, I bet you that they were thinking about the Super Bowl and people
Right.
wouldn't be too happy if they got an access time that was after kickoff.
Right.
So anyway, when I learned that it was compressed like this, I was very curious. And if we add in the 2022 times, you can see that not only did everything sell out, it sold out faster than it ever did.
Right.
And that's probably mainly because they compressed the times. I mean, uh,
Yeah, by like
I would say
150,
that's
right? Like
yeah,
150, almost everything was gone.
yeah, yeah. Before 2 p.m., everything downtown was going. And actually, what's not reflected on here, typically I only track the downtown rooms,
Hmm.
but this year was also unusual that every room sold out, even the ones out by the airport, even the distant rooms. Now they
Hmm.
sold out sometime before 3 p.m. I don't know, by 2:30, pretty much the portal was wiped out. So that
Right.
was a little unusual. Now, why was that? I mean, it seems like certainly this is going to be much closer back to normal.
Right.
Not like last year where we had 30, 35,000 people. I don't know if we'll get up to 70K again. Probably not.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we're at 60K or something based on this results.
Hmm.
The other thing is it seems like there was less rooms in the housing portal.
That,
So,
I was gonna
Go
ask
ahead.
that because I kind of wonder if they block. I don't know what kind of arrangement Gen Con has with the hotels, like in creating those housing blocks, right? But
Yeah.
did they kind of like hedge their bets and be like, well, we'll have more than last year. We know it's going to get better, but we're not going to ask for 60 or 70,000 people worth of you know housing block.
Yeah, and I'm sure last year was a factor.
Hmm.
Typically all these hotels, if they put their rooms in the housing block, and I'm not sure how the contractual relationship works there,
Right.
but if they were a downtown room, they were pretty much guaranteed them selling out. And last year that didn't happen, so maybe they didn't put as many rooms in. But
Hmm.
what they did, and interestingly, there was four new hotels that opened up and are in the block this year. So from that perspective, there
Hmm.
was should have been more rooms.
Yeah.
However, what was definitely decreased was rooms further afield. There were less hotels outside of downtown. And
Hmm.
that's probably because last year, if everyone could get a downtown room, those hotels didn't sell any rooms through the housing block. So
Right.
maybe they didn't participate this year. So these are all factors. I don't know. I don't know how much. And interestingly, we can look at, the Gen Con
Hmm.
their announcement that they posted on Facebook and Twitter and in the housing portal, they said it was an unexpected turnout,
Right.
which is interesting because they did have some visibility. Well, they definitely knew how many badges sold
Yeah.
before then, but badges only went on sale 2 weeks before. If they
Hmm.
started seeing a huge increase, it probably takes some time to change those contracts with the hotels and everything,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
especially if a ton of people waited to the last minute to buy a badge. They wouldn't have had notice before the weekend.
yeah, I'm sure that
Yeah.
that's planned. It's
Yeah.
got to be
Well,
planned months in advance. There's,
exactly.
or at least in December, locking that up, and then like, this is what we're committing to January 1 for selling tickets in mid February, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now, the nice thing is they did say that they're procuring additional inventory of rooms and
Mm-hmm.
are going to be adding them back into the portal. So
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
folks who, keep an eye on the portal, one, you can, if you don't have a room, you can probably get one. And two, if you don't have your ideal room, you might be able to switch to a room you'd prefer. So if
Mm-hmm.
you are at an airport hotel or something that's not downtown, and stalk the portal as lots of people do.
Mm-hmm.
When those if new downtown rooms show up, you can switch over without any charge or cancellation fee. You're only
Mm-hmm.
charged a fee if you outright cancel your room completely through Gen
Right.
Con.
And I think for people watching this video may not have seen the tips and tricks we did before. I'm going to compress that video just down to the tips and tricks, and I'll post that along with this video. So you'll have a couple resources where you can kind of go back and forth maybe between this video and the other one to give you some insight into the whole housing Illuminati
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. We can talk about it very briefly, a couple of tips. But
Hmm.
actually, before we do that, I was next. I wanted to look at kind of the results. So for the past 8 years, we've done a poll
Hmm.
on the fans of Gen Con group, and this isn't scientific in the sense that it's randomized or anything, but it's consistent every year going back to 2015. I've asked the exact same questions in the exact same way,
Hmm.
and we get a pretty good response now.
Right.
So this is looking at the past year's data before we look at what we've heard so far in 2022. Now, some interesting information. So again, you can see 2021 was an aberration. I mean,
Right.
typically for the past couple of years before the pandemic, we were getting around 1,000 people responding to the poll.
Hmm.
In 2021, we got half that. Obviously, that tells you if there were half as many people going to Gen Con, there was half as many people trying to get a room.
Yep.
And interestingly, you can see the folks who don't need a room, the commuters, was the highest it was ever. So last year, which makes sense. People aren't traveling from the European Union.
Hmm.
There was a lot of travel restrictions. So the percentage of folks who went last year, a higher percentage of locals went to Gen Con last year
Right.
than a typical year, which also would explain why there was less pressure on the hotel situation.
Right.
And you can see I mean, the satisfaction level where 98% of the people got a room and had no complaints.
Hmm.
That's just unprecedented.
Yeah.
And you can also see the number. Typically, the people who books outside of the Gen Con housing block, like you, they just
Hmm.
go direct to a hotel or they go to hotels.com or
Right.
Travelocity, any of those things. was the lowest it was ever last year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you get a discounted hotel room through the portal, you might as well.
Yeah.
Um, but so if we look at the response so far this year, and responses are still coming in, but you can see we're getting up there close to 1,000 responses. So that
Mm-hmm.
again tells me there's a lot. It's similar to pre-pandemic with
Yeah.
how many people are. The number of commuters in the survey is more back to normal. So there's
Mm-hmm.
people who are willing to travel now. And you can see that the folks who got a room and are not complaining is 71%, which is low compared to, it's about 10% below
Mm-hmm.
what it typically was. But still, if you look at the majority of people by far are happy with what they could get. And that could mean they got it through the housing portal, they might have booked it on their own outside.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the folks, the percentage of people who were not able to get a room or didn't get a room yet, or is at 20%, which is the highest it's ever been. So
Yeah.
that's kind of revealing. And you can see also, putting aside 2021, the aberration of 2021, that bottom number, 23% of people booked outside of the housing block, that's kind of low.
Yeah.
Usually it's 30 to 40% of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
part of that, why is that? I mean, maybe people saw how easy it was to get a room last year. So they're like, oh, I don't have to worry about a backup plan. I'll just go
Right.
through the portal. So that probably also led to the sellout. If less people made alternative plans,
Mm-hmm.
it's it puts more pressure on Gen Con's room blocks. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really interesting information. I mean, the big takeaway from my perspective is Gen Con's back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not going to be another 35,000 people. It's probably not going to be 40,000 people. It's
Right.
going to be up there. And I don't know if it's going to be 50, 55, 60. But, what we've seen is kind of evidence that we're getting back to normal in some respects.
Yeah, and I mean, you even had the same number of respondents from on this poll as 2019 and 2020. And like if
Yeah.
everything scales, all the different Gen Con groups, all the different Facebook groups, they're probably in the same percentages, right? So yeah, I mean,
Hey,
if I were a statistics kind of person, I would say like, yeah, I'm gonna bet 60,000 plus or minus 5 is gonna be the attendance number.
yeah, and I would say this poll, this gets published Sunday afternoon after it opens. It's only been open for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Past years, that's all the respondents who may have had a couple. Not that, it's generally most of the responses come right away, but
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised by it when it's all said and done. More people will have answered this poll than in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
could be interesting. I don't. Maybe maybe we are going to get back to 70K.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, it's
hard.
gonna be like,
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, with the pandemic situation and the vaccine requirement, the mask requirement, which again could change
mm-hmm.
those requirements, but those are requirements now. You would think some people aren't going to be attending, but it seems pretty clear that a lot of people are ready to get back to Gen Con.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I thought that would be a
yeah,
little bit of a downer to the whole this year as well, but it sure doesn't seem that way.
yeah. So you talked about tips and tricks, and
Mhm.
the fans of Gen Con group on Facebook is pretty active with people talking about
Yep.
this.
Yep.
People are already, stalking the portal. People do the dance of, they'll book a further away room, and as rooms open up in the portal, they'll hop to better and better hotels. And a
Yep.
lot of people, by the time July rolls around, when the portal closes, a lot of people give successful stories.
Mhm.
GenConHotels.com, which is a non-official website that monitors
Mhm.
the portal. You can go on there and see what rooms are available. That's active now. And people are ready. Someone posted a picture to the group today showing GenConHotels.com right next to their a split screen with their work. So they're
Yep.
like, I'm going to have this open every day at work all day, and until I find the room I want, they're going to pounce on it. And people
Mhm.
do that. I know
Mhm.
it's a little intense, but there's discounts to be had, and there's
Mhm.
people, if you can get it for a reasonable rate, they
Yeah.
want to be close.
Well, it's yeah, and being within walking distance does help. Um,
Yeah.
for people watching this, I have stayed on the outside ring on the east side, and you can use gate 10. There's I can't remember the place I used last year, but there are, you can I get there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I leave at midnight. My car's fine. It's within walking distance of it's right over by the Lucas Stadium. You
Yeah.
have options. So just don't
Yeah.
don't don't get too frustrated about the housing block because there are things that you can do and just different things that you have available to you this year.
There's plenty of rooms available,
Mhm.
especially if you're willing to either drive in or Uber and Lyft in or take
Mhm.
public transportation, even though those options are limited.
Mhm.
Even downtown, if money is no object, you can find
Yeah.
rooms downtown.
You want to spend 500,
But
600 a day or 700
yeah,
a day.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, we'll see what Gen Con comes up with. They said they're going to add more rooms to the portal.
Mhm.
And they usually do that each year on a smaller scale. So there's a separate block of rooms that is reserved for exhibitors.
Mhm.
There's other rooms that sometimes, if all of those aren't used for the folks, in the exhibit hall, they'll move those over to the general portal. So
Mhm.
we'll see what other things are coming. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. This tells me, I'm lucky. I got the room I want.
Right.
But this tells me that we're starting to get back to normal. So I mean, if you were one of the 20% of the people who don't have a room yet, and that's not a good situation to be in. But
Mhm.
we've seen year after year that if you're diligent, persistent, and want to get a room, you can get a
Mhm.
room. Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, I really do appreciate you. I'm not trying to cut us off, but me and you can sit here and talk for 40 minutes probably.
Definitely. No, I think we covered it. I mean, that's the news of the day.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I can't wait for you to be on the channel next. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of people be unhappy about the the events, when they try to get the tickets or I want to get into this specific game and I couldn't, and there's not, that'll be
That's
the
that's
next.
the next rush. May
Yep.
15th is event registration, so we'll definitely be talking about that as it comes up.
I'm sure that'll be fun as well. Well, thanks again, Alec, and I look forward to talking to you again. Have a great day.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.